Good morning. My guest today is Miguel Medina from Strongarm Designs. Miguel, welcome. Thank you for joining the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about Strongarm Designs?
Yes, of course. So Strongarm Designs was incorporated in 1990, so we've been around for 35 years now. Originally founded by our current owner. His name is Tom Holden. He was originally a mechanical engineer from Rochester Institute of Technology. So we make ergonomic and ruggedized operator interface systems for manufacturing, for industry, and for healthcare. So at Strongarm, our mission is to serve and connect the frontline workforce. So the nomenclature we like to use in the industry is HMI, a human machine interface. So whether that's a display, a panel PC, a tablet, what we do is we design and manufacture from the base raw material to electromechanical assembly of the systems to enclose those. Like I said, either ruggedized or ergonomic. So for instance, if you want to put a computer in a food processing plant where you have meat, cold temperature, brine, things like that. It needs to survive that environment. That's what we will make. Our most visible product is on the healthcare side is something like a nurse cart
Mhm.
or a wall arm that you will see in a kind of a nurse's office where it's sort of articulating on a display, nurse's office or doctor's office. Those are called our mighty mounts and our clean mounts. So that's what we do. That's what we make. We're in the northern suburbs of Philadelphia. We have about 130 employees, and we do about 30 to $50 million of revenue a year.
That's very impressive. Very impressive. And all your manufacturing is US based?
That is correct. Yep. We supply chain all over the world, obviously, but we do all our manufacturing in-house. Again, all our engineering design, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and all the electrical mechanical assembly. So we have pretty good sort of vertical integration of all of the value add for our products.
That's really interesting. And I think we've seen these kinds of manufacturing, the product in many different settings, like you said, in the doctor's office, in the hospital, on the plant floor, and people don't often think about, well, where does this come from? Are most of your products designed specifically for the customer?
They are. That's a good question. So all our stuff is custom design. So there's off-the-shelf stuff like the wall arms for doctors' offices, but everything we do has some custom flavor to it. So we like to say that we design solutions rather than products. If you go to our website or anything like that, you might see a handful of half a dozen classes of products, and then what we do for the customers, we make it for them, we tailor it for them. So we have something called a sweet station, for instance. This is used in a biopharmaceutical environment, stainless steel, sort of ruggedized display, and we'll call that a sweet station. And if it's somebody like GSK ordering it and they say, well, we need a particular type of Zebra printer integrated with this, we'll make that specific wall station for that specific printer. And then if another biopharm person like a Johnson and Johnson is, well, we don't really need a printer, but we need sort of a UPS, an uninterrupted power supply that we spec out for this room. And so we'll make it the exact size, have the exact port cutouts for all that to sort of work in concert as our customers need them.
So let's kind of pivot a little bit to your personal background. How did you get involved in this industry? What was your path to get to where you are today?
Yeah, so currently I'm the VP of operations here at Strongarm. So I sort of oversee everything, the engineering, the production, all that. So it's a very nice position to be able to really see the strategy come together that the president and president's name is Steve Thorne, put together over the last 6 years. I've been here six years now. And we grew the company from around 15 to $20 million a year to now around 30 to $50 million a year. We grew from about 80 employees to 130 employees, and we're still growing. So my background, I live in South Philly with my wife. We had a new baby recently. She's seven
Well,
months old.
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm originally from California, Santa Barbara area. It's about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles, and I went to UC Santa Barbara there as a chemical engineer. And there in industry, I got my start as a machine operator. Back in the day, I used to get my hands dirty, believe it or not. And from there, upon graduation, I got hired as in the piezoelectric ceramic industry. So these are components that are used for sonar systems for the Navy and for commercial fishing. So with that, I sort of pivoted me into process engineering, almost like an industrial engineer, process engineering, quality, applications engineering, things like that. And I moved to the East Coast to South Jersey originally, startup where I was for about 10 years, also for the piezoelectric ceramic industry. And then from there, along the line, somehow I got my MBA at Rutgers at a certain point. I don't even remember when, it just kind of happened. But throughout that time, I really got to practice a lot of continuous improvement, lean systems as they apply to operations, as they apply to production, and through the lens of kind of the traditional chemical engineering process approach to things. So something that I've really championed and that we've instituted here at Strongarm with our digital transformation here, with instituting AI and things like that, is through that continuous improvement lens, which is the way I'm not the only one who translates it this way, but the way that I translate it is to blame processes, not people. That operator error exists, and there's no question. But even when it's operator error, that's not the root cause. It doesn't solve the root cause. It's what in the process allowed the error to occur, which in continuous improvement is called poka yoke. And when I get into digital transformation, to talk a bit more about that. So I've applied that background to here. We've been pretty successful. I love my job. I get to learn from people every day. I get to earn their respect every day. And I get to put, everything I've learned throughout my career in practice on a daily basis. It's quite a rewarding role that I have.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you can just feel the difference when someone has that sort of enthusiasm, the fire coming out of their eyes for what they do. People feel it. That's just to me the most wonderful leadership quality, and it adds so much to the work environment that people know it's a people-centered. And really, when you think about the definition or one of the definitions for digital transformation, it's putting the customer in the center of the transaction, whether that's your internal operation, your own production facility, or the end customer.
Correct. Yep. And including the operators themselves as
Right,
well with
right, exactly.
process improvement. That's exactly right. And
Do
yeah,
you
I love leadership, by the way. And, we have a lot to say about that too. And that's a big rewarding aspect of my job as well.
um I'm curious whether you have the opportunity to apply the same sort of mindset to the customer's product. Do you get involved with the end customer when they're designing a new system? Can you make recommendations about things that maybe they didn't even think about? Do you have to understand their process?
Absolutely. Yep. That's probably our biggest core competency is how we're using this, right? We like to say that if you can give us a napkin sketch of what you want, we'll design something for you. And it's a everyday thing where it's here's what we think we want. And okay, how's it being used? What is the goals behind it? Here's the system you need to achieve that. And we have, as I said, we do custom. So on a monthly basis, we have about 600 unique custom designs that we do monthly. It's quite a lot. And that's at about $2 to $3 million of revenue a month. So you can imagine how many projects that is. 80-90% of those are repeat customers. And so as we iterate, just like the continuous improvement process, it gets better and better and better. We see the customers integrating their digital solutions, their AI solutions. We just got back from a few trade shows that we did this year in healthcare, HIMSS 2025. Big industrial trade shows and big medical device and healthcare trade shows. And I think the thing that really set us apart They were busy, by the way, the busiest I've ever seen in my career. It was very exciting. Whether that means good business for Strongarm is hopefully it does, but just from an outside view is wow, it's exciting what's happening in the healthcare industry right now. But anyway, what we see a lot from people that are interested in our products is that aha moment that they have when, okay, I'm an AI developer, I'm a machine vision developer. I want to get my stuff on the factory floor because it's going to be able to do this. I want to get my stuff in front of doctors because it's going to be able to do this. I want to get myself in a pharmacy because it's going to be able to do this. What they're not necessarily thinking about, or what they start to think about as they go out and get clients, is how are we going to connect the people using this? Right? It's fine when I'm back in the lab sort of programming this stuff, but when somebody's out in a full Tyvek suit, respirator, gloves, how are they then using my software on whatever platform, on whatever hardware? How are they going to use that? And they see our stuff that, oh, that's how it's going to be done. So we definitely have seen a lot of that in both healthcare and industry. So we like to say, and we like to point out that although we've been around and some of our designs have been around for 30 years, we're really on the cutting edge of technology. A good example, if I can get into a case study real quick, is a company called, I can share the company names, right?
Sure, it's up to you.
A company called Enia. It's in Slovenia. So they made for the German manufacturer Daimler these converters for their. So they had a brand new system, it's $30 million QC system where it was doing AI vision system to check the catalytic converters. This is something that it could come in, scan, check over the course of 10 seconds, thousands of different data points. Something that would take a traditionally super well-trained QC person, hours upon hours upon hours to check down to 10 seconds. And what they were missing from their thing is how do we connect the operator to this? And so we had a custom solution for them for something called our Vertica strong arm systems, a mini station. So we had a couple mini stations for them to integrate their cameras, to integrate the software they're using to check this, and to have that integrated to ergonomically how their operator is going to be operating it on the actual shop floor, in this case, and the next to the packaging area of their factory. So that's the kind of stuff we do. Another one recently is a company new with them, so I won't share their name, but they do AI vision systems for healthcare for operating rooms. So what they do is, right now, my understanding is for a surgical tray, preparing surgery. It's something that takes hours. So there's a giant cabinet of thousands of different tools, right? If you think you have a little, scissor tool or a little scalpel, there's 1,000 other ones that look exactly the same, but they're a tiny bit different. That's a slightly different use of the tool that, a trained surgeon would obviously know like the back of their hand. Anyway, surgeons and surgeons' assistants will spend hours a day getting these out, getting them from the cabinet, getting them onto the tray so they can prepare. And it's something that's hundreds of thousands of dollars order of magnitude a day as far as cost. So what they do is they put this vision system in the OR. They can see what the tools that are being used. The AI vision system can see what the tool is. It can mark it, could digitally mark it so that the next time it sees it, it could know that it's the correct tool and then start to put together those analytics and say, okay, well, these are the top 100 tools that you kind of always need, and those should be in the front, or they should be organized this way in the cabinet. And you're reducing your setup time for 99% of your surgeries from hours to a minute or two, saving the customer hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they had this huge company being funded by a big German conglomerate. They have this software pretty well thought out. And then sort of when crunch time came to get this out in front of some OR clients that they're partnered with, it was actually, how are we going to mount this? How are we going to put this here? And they looked at the carts that are available, and there's a lot of competitors that make a lot of different types of healthcare carts, and they're great healthcare carts. They serve their purpose. But what's out there is just not what they needed. They needed something that's more robust, and they needed something, a partner that can give them the type of the type of detail they need to mount it the way they want to mount it that really works for them, right? Because that's a new thing. There's no cart that exists right now for this company's camera and software. Now it does. It's our cart. It's part of our, it's called our one cart. But anyways, they see our cart, love it. We modified it. And now we have a cart that's basically an OEM solution for them. And now that we're part of their business plan now,
So
which is
now you're integrated into their product and it's white
correct.
labeled into their product.
That's exactly right. Yep. And so we get to be a part of that in the wider industry. And we have 2 or 3 dozen other cases like this where you have this emerging technology and then they get to the point of, hey, someone's actually got to use this in the actual shop environment, in the actual hospital environment, operating room, OR environment. And then we get, we get participate in that. It's very exciting.
And it's just such a brilliant business development strategy because they're the ones selling the product. And every time they do, you have another sale because you're integrated in to their product.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Their growth is our growth. They, you know, they had mentioned there's 60,000, 65,000 ORs in the US, which is going to be their initial market. So that's gigantic.
It's exciting,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
What do the challenges to scale the operations look like? Are you running 3 shifts right now in your manufacturing facilities, or talk a little bit about where you see the company going as you continue the success that you're having?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm gonna tie it into the digital transformation we've had here. So I said I started 6 years ago, which was I started here day that the lockdown started for COVID. So
Pandemic, right?
it was very fun times going down 95 Interstate 95 over here in Philly with nobody on it. And I'm definitely not admitting to speeding, but it was certainly fun to just go down that freeway at whatever speed to get to work very quickly. But in any case, one of the challenges we had, and the challenges that most people face in our industry and in any industry really, is talent, how to cultivate subject matter expert, how to integrate legacy systems, legacy employees included with legacy systems, attract and retain talent. I think a lot of starting it, we had to start a second shift at that time, which we don't have anymore because we don't need to. We kind of solved that problem. So if I could jump to a result, we increased productivity by 30% for our employees. So it went from something like $180,000 in revenue per employee to $219,000 per employee. So that was huge. If you double the productivity of an employee, you gain 2 employees for every 1 employee is a different way to say that. So we never laid anybody off. The rate of growth was accelerating such that we could slow down the amount of people we were hiring. But if we kind of did it the old way, we'd probably have 200 to 300 employees right now instead of 130 employees. So these challenges we've overcome, but I think it's a good example to go over them in the spirit of your questions. A company called Augmentir that we partnered with, they have kind of call it a digital work construction. One of their competitors is Polka, which we looked at. Another one of their competitors is ETQ, which we looked at, and they actually got bought out by Augmentir at a certain point. But in any case, it was a good software that paired well with continuous improvement, with the Polka yoke, the mistake proofing, the blame the process, not the operator, because it allowed us to really define those systems, right? So when you talk about digital transformation, a lot of times you're thinking about automation, right? I don't have the employees. I have employees retiring. We just don't have the subject matter experts anymore. So we got to look at what we can automate. And I remember my boss, when I first did, one of the things, can you get a robot to do the assembly for the Mighty Mount? And it's like, sure, what would you like me to program it to do? I don't know, to make stuff, right? You got to tell it what to do. You can't literally tell it what to do. And now actually you can almost with the large, the LLM AI, you can kind of do that for some things now, which is great. But in any case, we've basically looked at what the constraints are, like you would in a traditional lean system approach. What are the constraints? And let's apply the digital transformation to that. So the 3 big things we did was digitizing work constructions and digitizing our quality system, which we did with our ECR and NCMR process, which is engineering change requests and non-conforming material report, NCMR. So with those, so the old way was, especially with the custom nature of our stuff, is what if something is wrong, right? We don't just have something on the shelf that we can replace it. We can't just scrap it and just get a new one, right? This was something we had to put a lot of thought into because it was our biggest constraint. But then on the people side, you get into the the leadership role. You get into the is if the operator, let's say the welder, is saying I have a problem with this, what that comes off as is attacking the engineer. I'm going to attack the engineer that the design is wrong, right? And then the engineer's attacking them, well, they're not a competent welder or something like that, right? So it's not that bad on a daily basis, but that's the challenge that you have there. So the digital transformation is, hey, that communication process is our biggest constraint to getting this done. Can that be digitized and automated? And the answer was yes, and Augmented helped us do that. So the software did, our people here are the ones that did work for this. So automating that and saying, okay, let's take out those processes and make that a thing, right? And then start these initiatives. So basically, the engineers, while they still interact with the welder, it's not an opinion. NCMR is filled out, and now it's in the queue for the engineer, like a work order queue. And say, okay, you have 5 NCMRs to do today, and these are the 5 problems that exist, and there needs to be some corrective action for those 5 things. And nowhere in there is it, okay, but am I fighting the welder's opinion? No, it's a problem that exists. There's a problem, there's a work stoppage. What's going to be the solution for this? So doing that, digitizing it, basically digitized the communication itself, automated the communication. It's a communication tool. And then doing that solves that constraint. And now we can do this process very quickly. And suddenly we don't need 3 welders to do the job. Whereas if you look at it, we need 3 times as much product. So let's get 3 times the amount of welders. And the constraint seems to be this feedback loop of the problem solving when issues arise. So let's solve that. And then we make huge savings. And I think this is part of what the digital transformation is about that people often overlook. Part of what the AI adoption is about that people overlook because I think they see it's going to replace people when it's really couldn't be anything further from the truth. It's augmenting people. It's making them stronger. It's providing them with a tool that they can use to make themselves basically invincible as an employee. One of the things that I like to go back, because I'm older than I look, I guess, but Deep Blue is the IBM computer. Call that the OG digital transformation for database systems and things like that. Watson, I guess, was probably more the forefather of AI, but let's call Deep Blue the forefather of Watson. So they played Garry Kasparov, the chess champion, right? And there was this big old thing about it. And long story short, technically IBM won, and computers are superior to humans now in chess, and therefore for everything. But what people kind of neglected because it wasn't part of the glitz and glamour was it took a human versus a computer. What it never did was, what about a human and a computer against the computer? And if you follow chess, which I do, if you have a grandmaster chess player and a computer, will absolutely wipe the floor with any chess computer ever, right? You could have a whole warehouse supercomputer, quantum, everything possible. But when you have the creativity and the problem-solving approach of a human paired with a computer, it just wipes the floor with the computer. So I think that's I think what is actually very exciting about the continued digital transformation now with AI vision systems and LLMs we are the chess masters in our respective fields, and we get to have a computer helping us at every stage of the way, and then Strongarm helps us connect to that.
What sort of internal resistance did you face when you started putting these more advanced AI systems in the process? Were people worried? Were they afraid? Was there resistance?
Yes, I think there was a lot of resistance. I think the initial thing is fear because if we digitize this, that means my job is going to be replaced. And I think on the leadership and operations side, it was tying these things to incentives, bonuses, raises, things like that. So there's always that. But on the leadership side, it was very much, let's take a one-on-one approach with this stuff. Let's show some leadership and let's tell people why. Share with them why. Just do it. Hey, you need to do this now. We're gonna digitize this. So make me a work instruction, please. It's, hey, let's hear about your challenges. Well, Mr. Welder, Mrs. Welder, what are your challenges here? And I think if okay, you need this. I think I know how to get that for you, right? I need the engineers to listen to me, right? I think I can do that. I have the digital NCMR process, and now the engineers are listening to them. Right. So they see it when we can frame it and genuinely frame it as a, this helps you with your problem. Let me understand your problems and this helps you with your problems. And then now as a business, the employees are more productive. We're solving more nonconformances and I get all those analytics, right? I know how many NCMRs right now, if I want to look, are in welding. I know how many are in bending. I know how long it took to solve. I know what the solution was. I know what the root cause was. I have a host of analytics that helps us solve on a daily problem solve on a daily basis, and align with the strategy we have for growth and the continued adoption of these digital platforms. To go back to the question, it was you face challenges from staff and stakeholders to do this. And it can be immense, but definitely when you approach it as,
People.
people first and tell me what your problems are and let me help you. And I think we can do it this way. And you definitely have to get the why, at least in my experience, give them the why and get their buy-in and make them part of the solution. Don't throw it on them. You now need to use this AI system. It's, hey, you know how another example real quick is the wiring. So we did this wiring walk down, and as a project we're doing right now to integrate some of the AI vision system is you sort of observe 1,000 different terminal blocks, little terminals the size of maybe the end of your pen. So very small, less than a quarter of an inch kind of diameter. So little tiny wires everywhere. You check everything, you check the color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we have to do that. These things have to work. And you say, well, you know how long it takes to do that and how painstaking it is. Or what if we could have a vision system help us out with this? And then I think instead of doing this, you can do this, and whatever there's a problem solving step or wherever the AI vision system kind of, gives a human needs to check kind of a thing, you get in there so you can concentrate on the stuff that you like to do, which is engaging yourself and solving a problem rather than just kind of sleepily introducing yourself to all these human errors because it's tedious and it's time consuming. Making them part of the solution and giving them agency over the adoption, I suppose, is probably a good way to sum it up. If you genuinely share agency for the adoption with them, they get over their reticence pretty quickly. And then it's just so much easier because they are excited and engaged to adopt these systems.
And that becomes contagious then when you've got, somebody on the floor, let's say a welder, if he starts evangelizing how much he loves doing this, then he starts impacting the other people in a
That's right.
positive
Yeah,
way.
it is contagious. As you probably well aware, you get 10 to 25%, and especially around 25% of people engaged in adopting. It's extremely contagious, and that's what you need to sort of break the barrier into adoption.
Yeah, that's great. So from a kind of back to that whole scalability, do you see ever building another manufacturing facility that your sales could be that good that you would have to expand?
Yes, we're actually still expanding now. We're expanding by about a third. So going from about 60,000, actually it's exactly a third. It's 50% technically, from 60,000 square feet to 90,000 square feet. When we're done with that, and when some of these healthcare things come to fruition, probably going to do another 30,000 square feet.
Wow, impressive.
And we're in this business campus right now, so our buildings are right next to each other, but every building is basically 30,000 square feet, which is where that's coming from. And I think when we hit the next one, which we will in the next 5 years, that's at the point where we're definitely over 50 million in revenue, and we're definitely looking at building out, a bigger plant in this area that's probably going to be closer to 250,000 square feet in the next 5 to 10 years.
What is the biggest bottleneck to the company's growth?
The biggest bottleneck to the company's growth right now, if I ignore all the political stuff going on, not counting that, but including that, is it's this cycle time for new projects. So the adoption. So as we start adopting more AI, like Augmenteer, where you have, another one of our partners called Qmation, which distribute the Wonderware North and Aviva software. So basically they go into a plant like the one drawn behind me, or painted behind me. It's a canvas chemical plant, and okay, this is going to control all your systems. How are you going to mount everything up? How's the operator gonna interface with this? That's where Strongarm comes in. But anyway, so if that's kind of the cycle of what a new customer is and a growth customer is building a new plant, building a new healthcare system, new hospital system. Those cycle times can take years, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. That's going to be our biggest bottleneck. The other traditional bottlenecks like labor, subject matter experts, things like that, we didn't solve them for all time, but we've done a pretty good job of integrating them with these digital systems that we have. That it's not going to be a bottleneck for the next 10 years. So for right now on the customer side, it's definitely plant growth. But again, as they adopt their systems, that demand and that momentum increases exponentially, and we'll start to see a lot of that. So I think when we hit, past 10 years, we'll definitely run into more of these situations where we'll have to scale the efforts we already made even higher to the next order of magnitude. That will present challenges, and we will approach those in a similar fashion with the digital technology and the AI technology that exists 5 to 10 years from now. So that's the cool thing. That's the exciting thing is, like I was saying at the beginning when I first came here, and my president asked me to program a assembly arm to do this assembly. What do I tell it to do? Someone has to program that, right? It's 6 years later, someone still has to program that, but you kind of can tell, you know, uh, uh, what I want it to do, and it'll spit out at least the template of a program. So, 5 or 6 years from now, I'm sure it scales. The technology itself will scale with the level of the challenges we face with respect to training and process improvement and process consistency and things of that nature.
Great. This is such a great American story. And
It is.
I think we don't hear enough of these, and so I really am grateful for you to take the time to chat with us today. And I love your enthusiasm and what you're doing with technology and just the people-centered and leadership centered approach that you're using to be successful in your business.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a true American company here, and we're pretty proud of what we do. Thank you very much for
Absolutely.
recognizing that.
All right. Well, thank you again, Miguel Medina from Smart Arm Designs. Have a great rest of your day and wish you all the success in the future.
You as well, Jenny. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.